NBC Sports, home of horse racing's biggest events, proudly presents the Breeders' Cup World Championships.
A brisk but clear fall Saturday in Kentucky, the perfect setting for this event as the Breeders' Cup returns to Churchill Downs for the first time in 7 years. The action got underway yesterday with Future Stars Friday, all 5 juvenile races together. We saw some impressive 2-year-old performances all afternoon. So now, the attention turns to today's 9 remaining championship races. The Classic may be the headliner, but all eyes are also on the turf, featuring the superstar filly Enable, who's won the ARC in back-to-back years and now is aiming for a Breeders' Cup turf score. With the iconic Twin Spires as the beautiful backdrop, this is the 35th Breeders' Cup World Championships. And welcome to Breeders' Cup Live, presented by America's Best Racing. John Deere Weather Track Condition Report. It's getting warmer, sun's out, rain has cleared, though the turf course still listed as good. Could have a significant impact on the impact of some of the turf races. And on the first turn, welcome everyone to Churchill Downs. I'm Laffit Pincay. Day 2 of Breeders' Cup 35, 9 more Breeders' Cup events. Today we'll get started with the Filly Mare Sprint shortly. Later on, the Distaff. The Distaff back on Saturday where it belongs, and later tonight on NBC, the Breeders' Cup Classic, post time 5:44 Eastern. But you'll see the Filly Mare Sprint and Turf Sprint right here on Facebook. We'll answer some questions. You'll provide the questions. We'll try and answer. Also preview some of the biggest races on the afternoon. As I'm joined by Matt Bernier, Nick Luck. You guys are trapped. We're here for an hour, no commercials. Like, there's no escape.
I'm not sure what's making me more nervous today, Laffit. The idea of Enable not doing what she needs to do and winning the Breeders' Cup Turf for Europe, or answering questions on Facebook.
Yeah, scary proposition, guys. Let's start with some of the headline races. The Breeders' Cup Classic. You have Accelerate, and the big gorilla in the room is John Sadler's Breeders' Cup record. His first Breeders' Cup starter right here in 1988. Winless since, and he has the favorite in the Classic and Accelerate.
Yeah, he certainly does in Accelerate. Look, on his best day, he can certainly win this race. The question now really boils down to, are you going to get his best here this afternoon? That awesome, again, that he and West Coast are both exiting. I think it's fair to say it was subpar for both of them, but if you expect them both to bounce back, you've got to view them as main contenders.
Baffert, he's back at Churchill. Just won his second Triple Crown, of course, with Justify. He also has Mackenzie. He has West Coast. What do you make of his chances in the Classic?
It's the two titans of Californian racing, isn't it? Bob Baffert and John Sadler. And it's a motif that runs through the afternoon and starts very shortly with Marley's Freedom against Selcourt in our first live race. A division of opinion as to what West Coast achieved on that comeback ride behind Accelerate. Baffert seemed very pleased, but it didn't look pretty.
No, I mean, especially when you consider how slow they finished. In the figures, if you're a speed figure player, it didn't come back pretty. But the idea is West Coast needed a race before he was going to get back to his peak effort. He ran fast, early, slow, late. Usually a sign of a horse that's tired. Probably needed one. I think you're going to get his better effort here this afternoon.
Mind your biscuits, Catholic Boy, deep Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's get back to Enable, the superstar. Again, if you were designing a program for this year's Breeders' Cup, she would be on the cover. She is the superstar of this event.
She's the queen. She's the horse with the most achievement, tangible achievement anywhere in the world that's coming into this Breeders' Cup. She's won 2 editions of Europe's most important and prestigious all-age, all-sex race, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe at Longchamp. Very few have done that, and no horse has won that race and come on to win the Breeders' Cup Turf in the same season. We've talked a lot about statistical anomalies. I thought I'd get that out of the way now. We talked about it yesterday with Sadler. We talk about it with this statistic. I don't think it matters that she's won the ARC.
Well, the ARC is provided like 11 Breeders' Cup Turf winners. You're biased, though. I'm not going to bother with you. Is she a lock? Is Enable a lock?
No, she's far from a lock. We know it's horse racing. There's no such thing as a lock. But you have to view her as the horse to beat in here, no question about it. And I think there's a little bit of a different case to be made for Enable this year as opposed to the other ARC winners coming here. Enable's had a very abbreviated campaign. And I think there's an argument to be made that she needed that ARC to actually get tight and fit. And now maybe we're going to see her best effort this afternoon.
Maybe. That's
Perhaps.
the argument that's being put forward by connections and those closest to her trainer, John Gosden. She can improve off that ARC. You have to counter that by saying if you run a horse race 85% capacity, the time it takes you to get over that race is clearly going to be that bit longer. That would apply surely to any athlete.
Brittany Earton standing by. Brittany, Nick Luck pretty much just took all your time.
It's okay. That's pretty typical, right? I am just steps away from the horses paddock right here in the Peacock paddock, where, guys, the energy is palpable. I mean, people have been out here early in the morning to make sure that they get the right spot. So right in the Peacock paddock, we'll be bringing you celeb interviews. We'll make sure to chat with them and get their picks for the Classic. And high fashion absolutely on display here, courtesy of our Peacock paddock Glam Cam. And I love how they're bringing a Breeders' Cup twist to the Churchill Downs glamour. Now, something special yesterday, Javier Castellano, he kicked off Breeders' Cup in a big way, winning the inaugural running of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint aboard Bulletin. And afterwards on Twitter, he got a very special message from a couple of fans.
Congratulations, Daddy!
Good luck to Catholic Boy in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
We're all so happy for you. Good luck, Daddy.
Love you.
Bye.
Absolutely adorable. Those are Javier Castellanos' 3 little ones. Can't be here, so they sent that message on Twitter out to Dad. Congratulations and best of luck to him with all of his mounts this afternoon. I mean, guys, you can't have a better rooting crowd than your 3 kids, right? I mean, Nick knows about that.
It's true. It's true, Brittany. Their loyalty is unbending. And even when you've tipped no winners over the course of these 2 days and you've made that many errors, they'll still say Lafitte Pincay was the best.
Lovely. As we welcome in our handicapper, Eddie Olczyk, standing by. Edzo, just like that, we're pretty much on top of post time for the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Your approach in this race?
Lots of speed in here. The 1, the 3, the 4, the 11, the 12. I'm hoping for a real speed duel up front. I think Marley's Freedom, obviously the choice. But I got a couple of long shots in here behind. I got Miss Sunset at 40-1. I got Golden Mischief at 5-1. So I got to play the $10 exacta key, meaning the 13's got to win. And then if the 2 or 5 finish the second, I can cash anywhere between $121 and $500 for a $20 investment. I hope I can kick off the day with a good start here, Lafitte. I'd love to see a 13-2 right off the bat.
It's your day, Edzo. I can feel it. Best of luck, my friend. Post time for the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. So, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. Outside of Marley's Freedom or Selcourt, they're the 2 most likely winners, no question. But if neither of them win, I think anyone can win this race. I went way out in left field. I'm going to go with the 4-horse, Kirby's Penny. Kirby's Penny's 60-1 right now. Now, she's far from
because we saw a 66-1 shot win this race last year, bar gold.
She's far from the likeliest of winners, but I really think there's a real case to be made that her most recent run in the Gallant Bloom up at Belmont Park is much better than it looks on paper. She was the only part of the speed to stick around late. She finished 3rd, beaten by a length. I don't love 7/8 of a mile, 7 furlongs, the distance of this race, but look, she's 60-1. I'll take a chance.
Again, we had that bomb in last year's Filly Mare Sprint, and welcome in Donna Brothers. Donna, very happy Breeders' Cup Saturday to you.
Well, thank you. Same to you. And you guys were talking about Mike Smith and Marley's Freedom. A lot of speed in here. Mike Smith on Marley's Freedom from trainer Bob Baffert. Of course, they're coming off of a remarkable spring, winning the Triple Crown on Justify. And, of course, Mike Smith, the leading Breeders' Cup rider by many, 26 wins. Next leading rider has 15. But you have to say, these two, when they team up, Baffert and Smith, they have an unbelievable record. Smith is winning at a clip of 23%, which is respectable. Baffert, 32%, remarkable. But when they team up together, they win at a phenomenal 42% rate, Lafitte.
Unreal. Marley's Freedom, I'm all in, albeit 4-5. Final thoughts, gentlemen, as they get set to load into the gate.
Well, I think the thing that you need to keep in mind, Selcourt, we've talked about John Sadler a number of times at this point. Selcourt and Marley's Freedom, the last time Selcourt was on the racetrack, she humbled Marley's Freedom. The problem is that was all the way back in March, and now since then, Marley's Freedom has been transferred over to Bob Baffert.
Inside post positions have been brutal in this race. Post 1 is a combined 0 for 33 as far as hitting the board. No horse has hit the board in the Filly Mare Sprint from post 1 or post 2 since the inaugural running in 2007.
It doesn't help, too, that they're going to break out of the chute here, and they're going to have to deal with a little bit of an opening there in the track.
And John Sadler, again, it's a big story that he's more than happy to discuss. The fact that he saddled his first Breeders' Cup starter right here in 1988, Olympic prospect, a sprinter, 41 starters and still looking for a first win. 4 horses with legitimate chances today, highlighted by Accelerate in the Classic. And we'll see about Selcourt here, but all eyes on Marley's Freedom, the favorite. And we check in with the voice of the Breeders' Cup, Larry Coleman, standing by with the call of the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
All right, they're off. in the Filly and Mare Sprint. Finley's Lucky Charm broke well. Golden Mischief is up and on the pace too. And here's Selcourt sent through an opening on the inside up to grab the lead, and it will be Selcourt to the front. Miss Sunset settles into second. Golden Mischief is third. Happy Like a Fool, Mia Mischief next, and then between horses comes Shalone. Then it's Finley's Lucky Charm and Kirby's Penny on the inside. Anonymity is on the far outside, and Sky Diamonds in between horses. Then Highway Star, followed by Stormy Embrace. And second last early is Marley's Freedom. She's a good 12 lengths off the lead. The trailer is Shamrock Rose. The opening quarter, 21.89 seconds. As they head for the far turn, it is Selcourt in front. Happy Like a Fool, 3/4 of a length behind, running in second on the far turn. Shalone rides the rail inside of Miss Sunset. Then Golden Mischief, Mia Mischief, 4 wide. Finley's Lucky Charm behind them. Marley's Freedom now being asked for more speed by Mike Smith. She's still 5 lengths behind, wide on the turn and needs to get going. Selcourt has lost the lead. Happy Like a Fool turns for home in front. Shalone runs after her as they arrive at the final furlong. Shalone to the front. Shalone has taken charge, leaving Happy Like a Fool behind. Then it's Golden Mischief. Marley's Freedom on the far outside. Late speed by Shamrock Rose, who's closing with a rush. Between horses, Shalone to catch. Shamrock Rose is closing in. Marley's Freedom, Anonymity too. Here's the wire. Very close. I believe Shamrock Rose got there on the wire. And a photo with Shalone, Anonymity, and Marley's Freedom in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
Wild finish again in the Filly Mare Sprint. Did Irad Ortiz do it again? He was the rider on Bar of Gold last year at 66-1, the second biggest upset in Breeders' Cup history. And now, maybe with Shamrock Rose at 25-1.
Shalone, far side in those Barbaro colors of Roy and Gretchen Daxon, Lale Stables, down on the inside, just claimed in the shadow of the post on the wire. Larry Coleman said he believed that Shamrock Rose had won. It is still not official, but
Irad thinks he won.
Is waving the whip in a manner that suggests she has caused something of an upset here.
How did this happen, Matt?
Well,
if in fact she won.
I think she did get her nose down. Keep in mind, 7/8 of a mile, 7 furlongs. I think that was a big difference maker. Shalone, the horse on the front, I think she's just starting to feel the distance a little bit. And conversely, Shamrock Rose, she's a filly that appreciates every bit of this distance. Her most recent run was one of her first starts on dirt in quite some time. It was 7 furlongs at Keeneland, and she really took to it. Clearly, this is a horse that's wanted the main track all along.
What happened to Marley's Freedom?
You name it. She was slow out of the gate, and she was hung wider than wide throughout. The fact that she got as close as she did, I think this was a giant effort from her.
We ought to talk about Selcourt, another disappointment for John Sadler, but she showed incredible speed, having slightly missed the break to get that good early position, but she simply expended too much energy early for a filly who'd been off for 6 months.
Mr. Filly Mare Sprint upset with Donna Brothers.
Well, as you guys said, Irad does think you won. They still have the photo flashing on the board, but Irad, you felt like you got there first?
I think so. I mean, I think I was there by a head. Probably I won.
Is it difficult to, you ride mostly in New York, is it difficult to tell when you have such a close finish at a track you're not used to riding at all the time?
No, I mean, I don't ride too much day here, but I think I get there.
You can see Irad looking at the big board right now to verify that he did get there. They'll let me know in just a minute whether or not you got there, but this is your first time to have ridden her. Tell me about your impression of her.
She's a nice filly. Mark told me she was ready, so.
Irad can't talk until they post this up here, so he keeps watching the slow-mo of it. Irad, day 2 of the Breeders' Cup Championships. It looks like you're going to be on your win number 2 of Breeders' Cup Championships. You know, you and your brother have worked so hard to get to this point. What's it mean to you to have these kind of horses to ride on days like today? And by the way, they just posted you the winner.
I knew it.
Irad said, I knew it. Okay, so again, tell me what this win now that it's official means to you.
It's mean a lot to me. You know, it's my second Breeders' Cup. In the same year, I never won 2, so I always want to go home with 1, and I'm so happy. But I'm more happy I got 2. I know my #1 fan is watching me right now. It's my dad. Te amo, and this is for you.
Is your dad at home in New York?
Thank you, yes.
So you came into these Breeders' Cup Championships with 3 wins under your belt, and now after just 2 days you have 5 wins. So Again, let's talk about this filly, though. This was the first time you've ever ridden her. Did it go as you thought it would?
I mean, I watched the replay, and she do everything right last time. She did it the right way. Mark Casse loved her. She told me she's doing super. You know, let's see today. And I got outside post, so I break. I don't want to be too far. I was last anyway, but I want to be a little close, so I let him run a little bit out of there. Then I drop in, and I got to drive between her. You know, I got to get through between horses, and she did it pretty good. She do everything right, and she'll get there on time.
Go celebrate. I'm sure your father's celebrating at home. The feet. Think you heard that.
Fired up, emotional, pumped up, Irad Ortiz, and this is how close it was. Shamrock Rose by that much with Shalone to her inside, Anonymity to her outside, and finally, when it was official, when the photo was revealed, Irad Ortiz, you heard it, so fired up, so excitement, and that really does epitomize the Breeders' Cup in general, what these races mean to a rider who, even like himself, already established. But this is a championship platform, a thoroughbred racing, and Ortiz has another win. Down to Brittany.
Mark. With Mark Casse, Mark, you were kind of shaking your head in disbelief after the race. Talk to me about what's made the difference in the latter half of the year with her.
I was just, Irad.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
Give her around. Give her a little walk for a minute. I got to do this real quick. Okay.
Oh, you can enjoy the moment. No, I don't want to take you away from that.
So I wasn't sure we got up. Everybody was telling me where we were. I said, you know, I went to the old Alan Jerkin school. Run them when they're good. She won 2 weeks ago. I thought she was impressive. What made her? We gave her a little break. She wasn't going anywhere. I brought her home to our training center, gave her a break, and she's been a terror since.
Just talk to me about Irad Ortiz and just what a burgeoning star he has been on the scene.
He's one of the best. I love him. I love him as a person, and to be able to do this with him, and most important, I want to say hi to Penny Conrad. She's not here, but we did it.
She was with her today.
She's watching from in Canada. So,
well. We wish she was here, and go celebrate the victory. We know she's happy watching.
Oh, she is. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Emotional. Mark Casse winning this filly mare sprint. $53.80 for your would-be $2 investment. And guys, you remember when Mark Casse was a trainer who struggled for a long time to get that first Breeders' Cup win. Now he's on a roll after winning with Catch a Glimpse in 2015, the Juvenile Fillies Turf, Tepin that same year, Classic Empire a couple of years ago. Chalk up another one.
And he's proven he's one of those trainers that can do it with all types of horses on all surfaces at all distances. He's not necessarily a specialist with turf horses, as we thought he might be after Tepin and the Juvenile Fillies Turf winners. Then we saw what he could do with Classic Empire, who was a horse with a difficult temperament, but he got him on the right road. And this filly, as he said, he's just struck while the iron was hot. Knew she was coming into the race in good fettle, and she's come from what appeared to be an overly strong pace.
Yeah, I was going to say, really, I think when you look at this a little bit more, this pace was legitimate. 21.89 is very fast for the opening quarter. 44.99 is quite swift there for the opening half mile. And really, the top three all kind of came from out of it. Look, Shalone really deserves, she ran too well to lose, let's be honest, because she was the first one to make the move there. Big effort from her as well.
Look at these payouts.
Boxcars, that's what the Breeders' Cup's all about, isn't it?
Wow. Shamrock Rose at 25-1 with the exacta $720. The trifecta over $6,000. The super, if you were lucky enough, with the favorite involved, 28,000 plus. Again, last year, the second biggest upset in Breeders' Cup history with Borrowed Gold at 66-1. Not that big of an upset, so still a 25-1 shot to kick off the action on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. There is the full order of finish, and for Marley's Freedom off the board. So while she didn't win as a 4-5 favorite or hit the board, Matt, you didn't sound like you were that disappointed with her performance.
No, I'm sure the connections are, considering they came in here at 4-5 and people thought that she was the most likely winner. Given the circumstances, I think she ran quite well. She did get a good pace to run at, but boy, she must have run a mile in a 7-furlong race.
Marley's Freedom off the board is the favorite in this filly mare sprint. Is there anything you can gauge by the races earlier or this race on the main track in terms of how it's playing, any biases or anything of that nature?
Well, I thought with the moisture in the track, the speed was doing quite well yesterday, but now I'm not so sure because the track's dried out that little bit, the main track, and therefore it should suit horses coming for a little further off the pace.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple races already before this one, the first Breeders' Cup race. It seems like it's relatively fair. I don't think there's any sort of real advantage to be anywhere, whether you're forwardly placed or coming from off of it. I think everyone's going to have a fair shake depending on how the race plays out from a pace standpoint.
All right, so the upset in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, and down to Brittany with the trophy presentation.
Lafitte, what a way to kick off Breeders' Cup Saturday with that thrilling finish. It's Shamrock Rose that takes the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And for the trophy presentation, actor John Ortiz.
Wow, what a exciting way to start our day here at the Breeders' Cup. On behalf of the Breeders' Cup, congratulations on your first ever Breeders' Cup win.
Beautiful, thank you.
Manfred Conrad, please tell me a little bit about the emotion, the excitement watching her come down the stretch.
First of all, I almost had a heart attack, and I just like to tell you that this is really for my wife who couldn't be here today, but she's watching at home, so this is all for you here. Yeah.
Watching and celebrating at home, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, you said you almost had a heart attack, but can you put into...
I almost did, yeah, because I never expected to win. I knew she was running great and she was in good form, but you know, with a team like Mark and Mr. Ortiz here, how can you lose, right?
You have some great people surrounded around you right now. She's been in incredible form in her past few races. Yep. Whose decision was it to turn around quickly and put her into the Breeders' Cup?
It was Mark's decision. I mean, we just follow his advice.
Follow his advice. It's a good one, too. So congratulations to all of you. Conrad Farms, Shamrock Rose, Mark Cassidy, Irad Ortiz Jr. take the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint.
Thanks again.
Brittany, thanks so much. Pennsylvania bred, Shamrock Rose in this Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. So maybe we should have asked this question before this race with a $52 winner. But Mike in Pittsburgh wants to know, guys, I'm not the handicapper, they are. If you had to put all of your money, everything you had today, on one long shot, not even one horse, a long shot, who comes to mind? Who would it be?
Magical.
Don't let Mike down.
Magical, double figure odds.
Yeah,
if you want something,
you've talked her up all week, pretty good.
If you want something even bigger, in our next race here, Will Call in the turf sprint, just a track play, just likes it here at Churchill Downs, and
Magical and Will Call.
Those races that can go crazy.
Again, I mean, it's all subjective. What is a long shot? What's a big sort of number? I think if you want a medium sort of price, I do like Channel Maker to try to upset Enable when it's all said and done. But if you're looking for just box cars, you want to try to walk away with a piece of Churchill Downs, I would say Divisadero. He's going to be 40 to 1. And the one thing we know, he absolutely adores the turf course here.
Can we make it quite clear, because we've all been sitting together all week, that Matt Bernier was selecting Divisadero for the Breeders' Cup Mile before Divisadero was even a runner?
I'll tell you what,
he needed a scratch to get into the race.
Disappointed. I was so disappointed when the entries came out, and all of a sudden he's on the AE list. I think all of a sudden now he draws in. There should be a fair pace to run at. Apparently Marvin is asking a question. He's curious about the pace with the Classic. We'll touch on that. But I think the Visidaro's got a big chance.
All right, so what about the pace in the Classic?
I think Mendelssohn will be forward. I think McKinsey will be forward. I think they will go strong. What Bob Baffert doesn't like is that he's got his horses drawn next to each other.
That
West
always
Coast
bugs
and
him.
McKinsey. So he can't play the race around to his own advantage.
I'll put it this way. It'll be honest. I don't think it'll be crazy, but I think it'll be honest.
All right. Let's go upstairs to Travis Stone.
Of My Old Kentucky Home by America's Got Talent finalists and Louisville's own Lincoln Bridge.
Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. It's summer, the people are gay. They are gay. Well, the corn tops ripe and the meadows are in bloom and the birds make music all day. And they sing.
Like it.
Yeah.
The young folks roll on the little cabin floor.
Little cabin floor.
I'm very
they're so bright. Kentucky home. We say goodnight. Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. Hey, hey. We will sing a song for my old Kentucky home. My old Kentucky home. Far away.
That was pretty good.
I enjoyed that.
That was pretty good.
Are they back for the Derby?
Getting things fired up here at Churchill Downs. 1 Breeders' Cup race down in an upset. 8 left. Now, we're on record. Randy, Jerry, Edzo, Matt. There was the lock of the day, value, somewhere in maybe that 8 to 12 range, and then what the Arkong pick is. Arkong was the biggest upset in Breeders' Cup history, period. Jerry Bailey rode him 133 to 1. So the Arkong pick is the absolute blowout. Matt, you have Catalina Cruiser as your most likely winner this weekend.
Yeah, you know, I understand the whole situation with John Sadler. We've talked about it quite a bit here, but I feel like Catalina Cruiser has a number of things going for him. One, he's the fastest horse in the race. He's drawn on the far outside. I think that's a major advantage to him. Drayden Van Dyke has options. They can go to the front. He can sit just off a target if need be. And I genuinely, I think he would have been a player in the Classic had they chosen to go in there. But guess what? They have Accelerate.
I agree. I think Catalina Cruiser rolls and perhaps provides Sadler with that first Breeders' Cup win. Nick, would you tell Matt why Channel Maker cannot win the Breeders' Cup turf?
No, because I think he can win the Breeders' Cup.
You do think he can win the Breeders' Cup?
I think he can, because I was so impressed with Robert Bruce in the Arlington Million, and then Channel Maker dispatched him on loose, bad ground in New York. It's probably going to be similar turf surface today. I think Channel Maker, trained by a real star in Bill Mott, can win this race.
I think a lot of it, too, is the tactical ability that he brings to the table. He's going to be relatively forwardly placed. He's not going to be a horse that comes from way out of it. Now, look, Enable, I'd imagine, will be relatively forward as well. It'll be interesting to see where the two of them are in relation to one another.
I'm just warped at this point with the Europeans and the turf. Since 2000, I believe 14 of 18 Europeans have won the turf.
By contrast, in all 34 editions of the Breeders' Cup Mile, in which Europe are loaded later, there have only been 10 European winners.
Very different.
Something to bear in mind.
Americans been very strong in the mile. Turf sprint, more grass racing, wide open. Wide open, 5.5 furlong scramble. World of Trouble, early favorite at 2 to 1, and still have plenty of time to get involved with the 1 Breeders' Cup race down. 8 to go. You can still bet today's races with twinspires.com and use code BREEDERS18 to receive a $100 sign-up bonus. What better day to join? Let's get back to Brittany, who's made her way back to the Peacock Paddock.
Well, Lafitte, we all know that coming to the Breeders' Cup is the hottest ticket around and something you don't want to miss. Well, that stands true for Chef Bobby Flay. He loves racing but wasn't able to make it. He has been throwing his very own Breeders' Cup party Friday as well as today at his home in New York, and he gave us an exclusive peek as to what he's got cooking.
All right, it's Breeders' Cup Friday, better known in my office as Crabs Giving, so we're combining both days. We got some horse racing and some stone crabs. Check these out from Florida. We got 60 pounds of stone crabs with our mustard mayonnaise sauce. Very, very classic, almost like Joe's Stone Crab in Miami Beach. We have some green onion and mustard potato salad, and then you know what a lobster roll is? Well, we got some stone crab rolls right here. Toasted buns, buttered of course, and let's walk over to the stove. Making some stone crab pasta. So we have some bucatini with some garlic and some butter. Put a little extra garlic in there as well. Maybe some crushed red peppers, a little bit of spice, some lemon zest, some parsley, and a little bit of the water from the pasta water, just to help create the sauce. And then we have some of the bucatini, and then look at these stone crabs. This is just the stone crab meat. I'm gonna put that right in there. And you wanna make sure that the noodles and the stone crabs and the sauce all work together. Now come over here, I wanna show you something else.
It was more than that. Bobby's been here a long time.
This is the betting station. We're going to bet some horses today. We got Nacho giving us all the picks. Who do you like in the fourth, Nacho? All right, here's Nacho's tip of the week. Ready? The Breeders' Cup Classic, McKenzie.
All right, Nacho Flay going with the Bob Baffert trainee, McKenzie. Bobby, you're making me starving. Can you package some of that up? You know, send it our way. God, that all looks delicious. Throwing your own Breeders' Cup party, why not? If you can't make it here. Gentlemen, lots more coming to you from the Peacock Paddock. But seriously, that Bucatini, how do we get some of that?
Oh, great. Nacho, by the way, who will have a better afternoon than most of us. What comes to mind, Nick, when somebody asks you what your best Breeders' Cup party was, or best Breeders' Cup after party, for that matter?
Monmouth Park, 2007.
I'd agree.
Because, as you and I know, the day was so grim, and we were all drenched. We needed to drown our sorrows.
No, that was, again, the wettest Breeders' Cup ever. 2 days of rain, and the frustrating part was the very next day, the most gorgeous fall afternoon you've ever seen. That was Monmouth 2007. We're here at Churchill Downs for Breeders' Cup 35. Edzo, we have a question for you. Jeff would like to know if you had the option.
Hey Lafitte, first off, I'm sorry. Bobby Flay, Nacho, picking the winner of the fourth race. It has to be the 4. Vision perfect.
Well done.
Get it?
Well done.
That was bad.
No, no response from Brittany either? No? Okay. Sorry.
I'm worried you've peaked too soon. Save him.
I'm hoping my labs, Lily and Daisy, don't get mad at me because I acknowledge a cat
they just closed their computer. Edzo, you have the option.
Yes.
All right. You get to play in one more NHL game or ride Accelerate in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Which would you rather do?
What's my salary? Can you tell me my salary as far as playing in the league? I mean, I did score 40 goals once in the NHL, so I mean, I think that's worth at least $6 million a year, right?
Influence.
No monetary. I would probably say I would probably like to play one more game, one more shift. How's that? One more shift.
Perfect.
Vision perfect.
I can't see him on Accelerate.
Well, no, I mean, you want to talk about a few pounds over.
Oh,
that's not. No.
Hold on a second. I couldn't get into this suit.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
All right. But yes, when I get near horses, they look at me and go, "You ain't thinking about it." I go, "No. I'm just here to give you carrots and peppermints." So,
people have asked me. They go, "Hey, do you ride the horses?" I go, "Does it look like I ride the horses?"
Right.
No chance. We'd be run
6'3" jockey.
They look at me like John Candy in one of those movies when he got in his jockey silks there, and they were like, "Yeah, he's not going to exactly can't even get into the telephone booth, let alone get on a horse." So,
Nick, do you know a Jack in Largemont by any chance? Jack in Largemont. Does that sound familiar?
Do your worst.
He wants to know where you got your scarf yesterday.
Yesterday's scarf.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm not sure.
That was like a hashtag. Nick's scarf.
I think I got it out of Eddie Olczyk's wardrobe.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
What is this? Wait a second. Hold on a second.
It's just like
wait, hold on
Eddie,
a second.
you're taking a lot of shrapnel, man.
Wait a second. First off, Lafitte, I think you should either take a pencil and give them a shot both for taking shots at me.
Happily,
that seems to be the norm. That's the norm around here. Except, I mean, Randy every once in a while. Bailey all the time. You take your subtle little shots. Tarico's got my back. And now I got Luck and Bernier. Whoa. That's it. You know what? When
did you become the target? When and how did this happen? Like the biggest, toughest guy on the team, and you're taking all this shrapnel.
I think it's Tarjay, actually. I am the Tarjay of our crew. But you know what? I got big shoulders, and I got a good feel for this next race. So hopefully, if I can win this race, I got a chance to get back into the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. But if not, it's been a tough weekend so far.
So far, yeah, but you've been down this road before. You were in what place? So again, just to clarify, for those of you just joining us today, Eddie Olczyk playing in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge as a result of qualifying by winning the Pegasus Betting Challenge. And Edzo, you were in what place going into the last race?
Yeah, I was in 96th place out of, I think, 129 contestants back in February down at Gulfstream Park. I was playing on Express Bet back at home, and somehow I hit the miraculous trifecta in the Pegasus, and I went from pretty much dead last to winning the tournament, getting a free seat here in the tournament, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, and a chance if I could kind of maybe get my head out of my rear end here, or maybe drop a few pounds. Maybe that would help me, Maddie.
No.
Maddie finished sixth in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge back in 14, so he certainly knows what he's talking about. But you got to grind away. It's way different. I mean, it is a way different philosophy when you're in a tournament compared to when you're just playing the horses, because again, you're playing again. I think at 390 other.
What's the biggest difference?
Well, look, I mean, you're playing to accumulate. Obviously, when you're playing the horse, you're trying to make as much money as you can, but there's quotas that you have to meet in this tournament. You have to bet at least 10 of the 14 Breeders' Cup races. There's a certain allotment you have to wager, and sometimes you take shots where maybe you wouldn't take shots if you were just kind of playing pick threes or pick fours, where it's only win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, and daily doubles. So for me, I've had a couple of winners, but nothing under it, and that's why I continue to fall further and further and further down the leaderboard here. So,
Edzo, is there a difference, do you think, between being a good judge, a real good judge of horses and horse racing, and being a good bettor, a good strategic bettor, particularly given all the options you've got?
Nick, it's a great question. I think it is all about money management. There's no doubt about that. And look, you never have enough on the winners, and you always have too many on the losers. But at the end of the day, it is about money management. And look, Maddie can speak to this better than anybody, is when you have an opinion, when you feel really strong about your opinion, regardless if the horse runs 5th, 1st, or dead last, look, you got to have conviction and you got to go in, and you can't be afraid. Like, especially when you're playing in a tournament like this, you can't be afraid to take some shots, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't, but you got to have conviction.
Never saying him. My questions are great questions, Edzo.
Well,
thanks for that.
I'm still questioning whether or not you do have my back or not.
I got you. You know I got you. All right, Edzo will be right back with you for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Also, for one lucky fan, up until 5:20 today Eastern, you could ride Edzo's coattails to a big payday. Go to breederscup.com/Edio to enter for a chance to win $1 million. If Edio wins this year's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, a lucky fan will win $1 million. Just enter at breederscup.com/Edio for a chance to win with Edzo. We've seen him come from far, far back before. Matt, didn't you finish 6th in this tournament?
Yeah, a few years back, and I think what Edzo was alluding to, really, when you have an opinion, whether you're right or wrong, you got to hammer it, you got to go for it. And I know Edzo, down the road, he's got some opinions, and like he said, he just hopes at this point, really, you just want to be alive going into the Classic.
Going into the Classic. All right, guys, so there it is, the field of 14. That's from favorites to long shots. Accelerate at 5-2. Aside from the stats that Sadler's still looking for that first Breeders' Cup win, Accelerate as an individual, what's his key to success this afternoon?
Replicating his performance in the Pacific Classic at Del Mar.
That's it, isn't it?
It's pretty simple. And proving
Sadler
that he can
does
be effective
say,
out of California.
He says he's training right now just like he was going in to the Pacific Classic, for what it's worth.
Has he pulled off a stroke of genius by leaving something in the tank after that Awesome Again run, which we weren't very impressed
You have to
by?
remember, it was a prep. It was still a prep race to get him ready for this.
I asked him the question afterwards, and he wouldn't commit to that, but I wonder if he was just trying to manage expectations a little bit.
Don't want to go too far into the weeds, but there's a theory called the bounce theory, where after such a giant effort, there's a bit of a regression. And maybe we saw the regression in the Awesome Again from that giant effort in the Pacific Classic. If he gets back to that peak Classic effort, he's right there at the wire.
You guys have been watching All In, Road to the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Oh, yes.
Just generates that much more hype and excitement for the richest event, the most prestigious event on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Here's a look at the latest episode.
It's the morning of the draw. It's where we learn where we're going to be positioned in the starting gate. It's a completely random selection process, and it's really something that's completely out of our hands. A lot of people have come into town. Horses have come from various racetracks. Starting to see the Breeders' Cup saddle cloths out on the racetrack. Tonight, we're really going to kind of learn our fate in regards to our post positions. Really, the hardest part is just getting here. You need a lot of things to go your way.
You're sitting on a big race. You just want that day to come already. It's almost like you've studied for a test, and you know all the answers, and you just want to take the test. And at this point now, that test will come for us in the Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday.
You run Saturday, you win, and you go to the breeding shed. He's like, would I? Yes. That's your promise to me and my promise to you. He said, we both promise each other something.
You won't want to miss that feature on NBC, the story of discreet lover and his owner, trainer Uriah St. Louis. The road to the Breeders' Cup Classic. All in. Terrific series, and some of the stories behind the horses and kind of that hard knocks feel leading up to the $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. That's later on this evening. So theoretically, we're 3 minutes out from the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but we had a delay. Mia Mischief, number 8, needed a new shoe. So a delay for those reasons. Has the new shoe. Riders are up. You see the current odds. With World of Trouble, the favorite at 5-2. Correction, the shoe issue with Chanteline at 10-1. Does that ever change your approach of how you look at races right before a race when anything unexpected happens? Something as simple as a horse getting reshod?
I mean, it's something to consider, certainly. I don't know if it would be enough to get me off of a horse that I really liked, that I was really anxious to go bet.
Just want to put it out there.
But it's certainly something that, look, you don't want anything to go wrong between the time they get there, get saddled, and get to the starting gate.
Chanteline at 10-1. This thing's wide open, this Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Are you at all surprised about the favorite?
Well,
now 5-2.
So the thing here with this horse, this is World of Trouble. Now, World of Trouble has long been a horse that they've talked about. Once he got over to the turf, this would be his home. This is really what he wants. This is what he's bred for. His 2 turf races have both been sensational. And if you've listened to folks here in Louisville for the past week, he has been sort of the buzz horse of this race. I'm not terribly surprised. What I am surprised about is Stormy Liberal's current price, considering he was the defending champion in this race.
And to what extent did Peter Miller have a home court advantage at Del Mar last year? He went 1-2 in the race with Stormy Liberal and Richard's Boy. He's 3-handed here because he's got Conquest Tsunami in the race as well. Can he be as effective with these very fast, brazen turf sprinters here as he is back home?
This feels like this is Peter Miller's game. He's shipped all over the country. He's had success all over the country with these sorts. I think the one thing that you have to keep in mind this year as opposed to last year at Del Mar, it was 5 furlongs. Today, 5.5 furlongs. It may not seem like it's a great difference. That half furlong can be all the difference.
And on this turf track as well, which has clearly got way more give in it than the billiard table at Del Mar last year.
Correct.
Very firm turf course last year at Del Mar for the Turf Sprint. Turf listed as good. All the rain over the last couple of days here in Louisville. Moments away from the Daily Racing Form Post Parade. 5-2 favorite, World of Trouble. You'll see him and 14 others for this Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And we're ready to roll for this Daily Racing Form Post Parade. You start with Ruby Notion, currently 21-1.
Yeah, ridden by Flangeroux, famous for his exploits on Breeders' Cup Classic winner Gunrunner. Here's 2, Matt.
Bucaro, 4th in this race last year, enters in good form, a winner of the Woodford at Keeneland most recently.
Number 3, Embry, another long shot, Nick, at 34-1.
For Michael Maker and Tyler Gaffalione, he's been one of the young riding sensations of the season.
Vision Perfect, Matt, won yesterday's Juvenile Turf Sprint. Did jockey Javier Castellano.
First of 3 in here for trainer Jason Service. His best effort gives him a chance. He has nice tactical speed.
Disco Partner, very popular racehorse.
Big chance to give Christophe Clement a long overdue first Breeders' Cup winner with Joel Rosario, man of the moment in the saddle.
Rainbow Air, Matt.
The second of the trio for Jason Service. He's only raced twice here in 2018. After his win in January, he actually went and covered 40 mares as a sire. He's come back. He's in good form.
European, this worked out. Lost Treasure.
Right, people talk about whether a horse can come to this fixture having run at the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe meeting. This horse has run twice in between times. Lost Treasure for Aidan O'Brien, unexposed.
Currently 10-1, Chanteline with a new shoe.
One of the girls taking on the boys in this spot. Les, you made mention that reshoeing. That's a bit of an interesting point coming into this spot.
And number 9, 6-1. Major contender, pictured the defending champ, Stormy Liberal.
Defending champ, will he be as effective over the extra half? He can get distance at ground, but perhaps not on this surface. Still, he's tough, tenacious, and he loves a battle.
The gray, Matt, Havana Gray.
3-year-old colt from Europe, making his first start here in the United States, and more importantly, his first start going around a bend.
Quick.
Don't think you'll mind.
Favorite, World of Trouble, Ortiz. I read Ortiz looking for back-to-back wins.
Yeah, the Coming Force is just his 8th lifetime start. Gets more and more impressive. Very impressive in a minor stake at Belmont last time. Stronger opposition.
Trained by Peter Miller. Here's Richard's Boy.
Blinkers go on. He finished 2nd in this race to his stablemate Stormy Liberal last year.
Will Call, who you like quite a bit.
Yeah, I think this horse has got a shot. The trainer's very good, Brad Cox, and this horse ran a good second to Bucaro last time in the Woodford.
Don't sleep on Conquest Tsunami.
Big speed on the outside. Another Miller entrant in here. You would imagine there's one way for this horse to go, and that is to the front.
And a quick look at your field of 14 turf sprinters. They'll be tearing on that turf course. 5.5 furlongs listed as good. The Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint with a $1 million purse. Edzo, your approach.
Well, first off, the speed, all of the speed seems to be to the outside, right? I mean, you got Havana Gray, who is very quick. You got World of Trouble. You got Richard's Boy, and I heard you boys talking about Conquest Tsunami. So Stormy Liberal, 5.5 furlongs, perfect, 3 for 3. Hard to go against the champion, but I am going to. I'm going to go with the 6 horse here, Rainbow Air. I heard Maddie's little nugget there about taking some time off to get to some mares, and considering I'm a gelding, I'm very envious. So look, at the end of the day, I'm hoping for a fast pace, and I'm hoping for the 6 horse, Rainbow Air, to pick him up and lay him down in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And this is a key play for me in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Full disclosure, this was one of my stronger plays of the weekend. I'm just hoping that they go quick. The question I will ask both Matt and Nick is the turf course. We saw it yesterday. It was pretty front. You don't want to be on the rail. You don't want to be maybe in that 1 or 2 path. The sun has been out. It's been a little windy. You know, do you think the grass course maybe is dried out and maybe make the whole course a little bit more fair than it was yesterday? Because yesterday the inside was really not the place to be.
But because the course drains the inside, because of the camber, I can't see that it's going to be a better place to be relative to the rest of the track than it was yesterday. And I thought the most significant point, Edzo, yesterday about the turf track was when I went home and watched the replay of Newspaper of Record, demolishing them from the front in the Juvenile Fillies turf. Her rider was in the 3-path all the way around. He did not want any piece of that rail. He could control the pace from there.
Secretariat could show up right now, go into that gate, win this race, and all anybody would remember is that Eddie Olczyk told us he was a gelding.
Everyone's legs are crossed on the set.
Some of the jockeys in these Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. How about the high riding Drayden Van Dyke having a career year out in California aboard the defending champ Stormy Liberal. Drayden Van Dyke, Joel Rosario off to a terrific start in this Breeders' Cup, won the Juvenile Fillies yesterday. The Juvenile rides the favorite Accelerate in the Classic. Disco partner here, Flavien Prat, his first Breeders' Cup win ever in this event 2 years ago, now riding Conquest Tsunami from the outside. Some of the key riders in this upcoming Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, where we have just about reached post time. We've seen a lot more of this around the racetrack this afternoon. All the Breeders' Cup gear, the new line for 2018 is sensational. For official Breeders' Cup merchandise, log on to www.breederscupshop.com. They make your scarf?
I'd like them to. You want to borrow it?
I would.
You can do that.
I was freezing yesterday. Another look at the odds with World of Trouble at 5-2. So here's a question, Matt. Disco partner, the concern all along was not his talent, but surface preference, and that he's not proven or as good on soft ground as he is on firm ground.
And I think part of that is why you're seeing him at 7-2 as opposed to a shorter price. I think it's just an instance where this may not be an ideal situation for him. I don't think it means that he's incapable of winning, but perhaps that's why you're going to get a little bit of an inflated value on him.
He gave us a thumbs up, then he gave us a thumbs down. He's undecided.
He's a horse player.
That's what, look, new kids at the track. That's how they become fans, experiencing a day like this, specifically at Churchill Downs. Wall-to-wall championship racing, the Filly Mare Sprint in the books, right on top of the Turf Sprint. Again, it's post time, but we had the delay earlier, so it'll be a few moments. So what is the key, gentlemen, to Stormy Liberal successfully defending his Turf Sprint title?
Probably not having too much pressure from the outside and coming over on top of him in the early stages, I'd say, Matt. I think that's his worry. I think the pace scenario to the outside is the potential problem.
The good thing there, if you were a fan of this horse and you're backing him, he's at least shown that he can sit off of a target and be effective. I'm more concerned about the ground. How's he going to handle a little bit of cut? Because he's mainly been campaigned out in Southern California.
What about what trainer Peter Miller pulled off last year in this event with Stormy Liberal, with Richard's Boy, who are back in this year running 1-2, not just winning his first Breeders' Cup race, running 1-2.
Exceptional. And like you say, with these two horses, we know what they're capable of on their best day. The problem is they're going to be encountering ground that they're just not accustomed to, and how are they going to handle that?
also trains Conquest Tsunami.
Who's right from the outside gate in 14 with Flavien Prat on board, and went down to Stormy Liberal last time in a fantastic race for the Eddie D at Santa Anita. And that was an occasion where Stormy Liberal really showed what he was made of, because Conquest Tsunami looked like he'd got away at the head of the lane, and Stormy Liberal dug in. I think he didn't have anything to take him there.
That's the beautiful thing about Stormy Liberal. You know, more often than not, you're going to get an honest effort out of him. He's a tenacious horse, and Drayden Van Dyke rides this horse with the utmost confidence. You go back and see some of the stretch runs. He knows what he's got beneath him.
Disco Partner. Find out if he can be as effective on soft ground. Where do you expect him early on?
Well, I'd imagine he's probably 2 to 3 lengths off the pace. I know he has been more forward in the past, but I think they're going to really throw it down here early. And again, given his sort of, I don't want to say disdain, but he clearly doesn't like a little bit too much cut in the ground. I think he's going to be a little bit farther back.
And he's run 4 times at this intermediate distance of 5.5 furlongs, and he's been on the board every single one of those times. Very consistent horse.
Along with trainer Kenny McPeak, John Sadler, we've discussed it nauseum in the record in the Breeders' Cup. Christophe Clement, winless in the Breeders' Cup. Terrific trainer. See if that changes this afternoon with Disco Partner, major contender in this $1 million Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Larry Colmes standing by with the call.
As Conquest Tsunami comes up to the outside stall and completes the line here, all in line, ready for a start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Stormy Liberal had the best beginning. Chanteline's got early speed. World of Trouble, Havana Gray going up between. Then Bucaro, Richard's Boy, Ruby Nation down toward the hedge. On the far outside, it's Conquest Tsunami. And they're being followed by Vision Perfect, Will Call, Disco Partner in behind them. Rainbow Air is next to his outside. Then a break of another 2 to Lost Treasure. Hembry at the back of the pack, speeding through a 22.5. Opening quarter mile, World of Trouble. Emerging with the lead here, opening up the lead by 1.5 lengths. Richard's Boy into second. Havana Gray is third. Now the defending champion, Stormy Liberal, takes third and set sail for the top 2 on the turn. Then Conquest Tsunami. They're coming to the top of the stretch. World of Trouble off the turn in front. And here comes Stormy Liberal trying to win it again on the outside as they arrive at the final furlong. They've left the others behind. Stormy Liberal and World of Trouble digs in. These two well clear their competition. Then it's Disco Partner, Will Call, and Chanteline coming to the final 16th. World of Trouble on the outside. Stormy Liberal. Heads coming up and down to the wire. Stormy Liberal back to back in the turf sprint. And then it was World of Trouble, Disco Partner, and Ruby Notion.
Back to back Breeders' Cup victories. Stormy Liberal for Peter Miller and family, celebrating this win in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
7-to-1 odds. This seems like a bit of a gift here on a horse that we know this is what he's capable of. I have to be honest, you're going to take a look at the stretch run here in a little bit. I have to imagine that part of this result was because World of Trouble was down on the inside, and I really think that played a big part in it.
World of Trouble couldn't get off the hedge, and Stormy Liberal, we know, loves a fight. That's something he's really added to his game the last couple of years. And when Drayden Van Dyke set him down, I did think for a moment, Matt, that World of Trouble was going to pull out a little bit more, but Stormy Liberal would not be denied.
The fact that World of Trouble was able to dig in as gamely as he was, he's a 3-year-old taking on older horses for the first time, and Stormy Liberal is a world-class turf sprinter. Like I said, I do feel like part of this was because of where they were on the track.
Given he's only won by a neck in the end, ever so cool in the final strides, Drayden Van Dyke, as befits a man who went through a card, 7 wins on one day earlier in the year.
Look how fired up he is. First Breeders' Cup win for Drayden Van Dyke. And an excited Peter Miller with Brittany.
Yeah. The celebrations continue, Pete. You keep saying, what a horse, what a horse, what a horse. Talk to me about this trip, this ride, this finish, the guts that he shows.
Unbelievable. Great ride, great horse, great finish. Gary Hartunian, congratulations. Back home, he stayed home. He was a little nervous to come out. But this horse is amazing. I mean, the 11 ran just a tremendous race and was really hard to get by. But Stormy Liberal he refuses to lose. He just wants to win. And I just can't say enough about the horse. My crew just did a phenomenal job with this horse since last year. And
talk to me a little bit about everything that's transpired in the past year. This time last year, 2 Breeders' Cup victories, and not too long after, a very devastating fire out at San Luis Rey Downs, and you lost quite a few of your horses. Just put into words what this Breeders' Cup after all of that means.
You know, yeah, words don't really do it justice. You know, it just the emotions, the highs and lows that we've gone through in this game the past year are indescribable. And, you know, I'm just blessed and thankful to be back here, and amazing. To win this race 2 years in a row with this horse is just a dream come true.
A big congratulations, and it's a first Breeders' Cup for his two boys, Seth and Jacob. Donna?
And a first Breeders' Cup win for Drayden Van Dyke.
Right,
Drayden, we were just talking about the fact, I remember you being a kid riding Jimmy Baker's pony around the barn here at Churchill Downs. You've come a long way in a short time. Congratulations. What's this mean to you?
It means everything. You know, like you said, from Jimmy Baker to Tom Proctor.
Hold on a second. Stormy Liberal's not really comfortable with this offside interview. Let's try to get in a little bit more comfortable position here. And okay, here we go. Let's try it again.
I've had so many people help me along the way. Even Greg Blasey here has helped me. He's caught me a few times, but
even Greg.
Yeah. So, but this is awesome, and not a better feeling I felt after the wire.
Drayden, you just got your first leading rider title at Del Mar, which, you know, one of the most prestigious meets probably in the world. And then to get your first Breeders' Cup win, does it feel like things are coming into the places that you wanted them to all along?
Oh, for sure. It's a dream come true. A lot of goals that's been set, and I've made them. And so, yeah, hopefully many more to come.
Well done. A lot of people in Kentucky and California proud of you. Go celebrate.
Thank you.
As good as he is, as talented as he is, you would think the first of many of these moments, the first of several Breeders' Cup victories, Drayden Van Dyke. And as you pointed out, Nick, so cool in the saddle late in a stretch drive in a Breeders' Cup event, and Stormy Liberal successfully defends his title.
He looked such a talent from such an early age, but now he's got experience in his early 20s now. He's been winning races since he was 16, 17. So he's got the experience now to go with his talent, and he looks the finished article.
And he'll be on the favorite in the next race in the Dirt Mile, so there's a real chance that we could be looking at a little bit of a Drayden Van Dyke daily double here.
Stormy Liberal over World of Trouble Disco partner, having to settle for a third place finish as we jump in the cockpit and the Aston Martin jockey cam. Take a look at this, the rider's perspective. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like.
With PJ McDonald here on Havana Grey, who showed blinding speed early on and just couldn't sustain that speed and got.
That's the view you want.
Forced down.
That's the view he wants. Unfortunately, he'd get swarmed late, or right about now.
It's very rare for a European horse in turf sprints here to show this much pace early, but paid for it late.
But in the end, the winner, Stormy Liberal, for a second consecutive year. First Breeders' Cup victory for Drayden Van Dyke. And as far as Peter Miller is concerned, he has another sprinter ready to defend his title later on this afternoon, Roy H. in the Twin Spires Breeders' Cup sprint. Fired up, Drayden Van Dyke, Peter Miller, Stormy Liberal in the 2018 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And coming up next, coverage of the 2018 Breeders' Cup continues at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. Then switch over to NBC at 3:30 with the 4 final championship races, including the Classic. For our entire crew, I'm Lafitte Pinkai. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the Breeders' Cup.